Wars fans, it's David here from Beyond the Kingdoms, and I'm reporting in this week with a special Foodie Friday video back inside Galaxy's Edge at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Now, as much as I love this new addition to the park, I have discovered that finding great food dishes can be a bit of a challenge when traveling to Batuu. But don't worry, that's why I'm here, to weed out a few of the duds and to find those hidden gems. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below so that you never miss a video. But let's roll up our sleeves and dig right into today's video. Now, as I discussed a bit in my last Foodie Friday review from Galaxy's Edge, this land features a good amount of different snack and beverage locations. Of course, there are hot ticket items like Oga's Cantina, and the milk stand where you can try a sip of the iconic blue milk. But Galaxy's Edge only features one main quick service restaurant where you can sit and enjoy a full meal inside the land. Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo. You can't miss it. It's just steps away from the Falcon. Now, in terms of theming, there's something a little bit off about this place. Yes, it's packed with details that are tied to the Star Wars universe, but this is one location that for some reason I don't feel like I'm in a Star Wars location. I can't quite put my finger on it yet, but there you go. Seating appears ample in here, but it is divided up into different rooms. And there's some clever cargo containers that double as seating areas. At times, it can feel a little bit cramped with this layout, but it can hold a good amount of people inside. Now, currently, the restaurant is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The breakfast menu is very thin, which is a little bit odd because the land is opening at 6 a.m. for resort guests for the next couple of months. And almost all of the offerings are very similar to those found inside the cantina. They've got the same Mustafarian pastry roll and the yogurt and oats dish, neither of which are really that great. So I think in the future, this may suffer the same fate as Tutuli Canteen and cut breakfast altogether. But for now, at least there's something. But let's focus on the lunch and dinner options here. And one great dish that I can talk about is the Felucian Garden Spread. As the name suggests, this is a complete plant-based entree that is perfect for the vegetarians. And the name derives from the planet of Felucia, located far out in the outer rim of the galaxy. It is a complete jungle planet that made a very brief appearance in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, right as Palpatine delivered Order 66 to his clone troopers and killed hundreds of Jedi Knights. The planet was also visited a few times during the Clone Wars TV show, so I appreciate the clever tie-in to the dish. And in terms of flavor, this was a knockout. The main star ingredient is the kefta-style plant-based meatball, for a lack of a better term. It is composed of Beyond Meat and quinoa and fried perfectly because it holds its shape really well like a real meatball. It's served on top of a hefty and creamy bed of hummus that is oh so rich with great garlic flavor. It's topped with a cucumber relish and paired with some pita breads on the side. Now the dish is quite filling, mainly thanks to the pita breads. I would have preferred slightly larger kefta meatballs and one less slice of bread, but I'm being really picky here. This thing was delicious, and I dare say one of the best vegetarian dishes I've had in all of Disney World. The Felucian Garden Spread is a fantastic dish and at a decent price of $12.99. Like all of the entrees here, this will count towards your quick service meal credit on the dining plan. Now, I am really happy I made 2 trips to Docking Bay 7 and found this dish, because the rest of the menu is pretty weak. I did try the smoked Kaadu ribs, which was a big mistake. It looks huge, but the meat to bone ratio is way off. And I thoroughly disliked that cabbage slaw on the side, because it had way too much vinegar. And I think the addition of a blueberry corn muffin just doesn't work. This was one of those really rare times where I can tell you I didn't like this dish at all. I wish I would have tried the fried Endorian Tip-Yip instead, but I didn't because it seemed too safe. A Tip-Yip is a breed of chicken found on the forest moon of Endor. If you have a very keen eye, you can briefly see some chickens high up in the treetops of the Ewok village in Return of the Jedi. But in reality, this is just a fried chicken tender served with mashed potatoes. But I hear the kids' version is better because it's served with macaroni and cheese instead. If you're desperate for food, it's not a bad choice. And one last thing to talk about here is dessert. Docking Bay 7 offers 2 sweet dishes, the Batuu-Bon and the Oi Oi Puff. The first is a chocolate cake mixed with white chocolate and some coffee custard. It's very rich. The better of the two is the Oi Oi Puff, which is a raspberry cream stuffed pastry covered in some pieces of matcha cake and passion fruit mousse. It was very sweet and bursting with some fruit flavors, but somehow I just didn't love it. The pastry itself seemed a little bit dry, but if you are curious, this is priced at $6.49 and that chocolate version is at $6.99. And both qualify as snack credits on the dining plan. Overall, I think Docking Bay 7 is actually the weakest part of the entire land. The theming is okay, but just lacks something that I haven't fully figured out yet. The menu tries to appeal to a similar crowd that would enjoy Sutuli Canteen over in Pandora, but it is light years behind that quick service restaurant. No pun intended. Sutuli definitely remains to be my favorite quick service on property, and Docking Bay 7 gives me very little reason to come back. It's a menu that I hope gets worked on in the future, and I feel that's a relatively easy thing for Disney to improve upon. But that's where it stands right now. Now the good news is that the worst of today's food review is over, because I did find some fantastic items elsewhere in the land. But before I get to my favorite, we're going to make a quick stop at Saka's Kettle. This is a very small snack stand at the end of the old market area of Blackspire Outpost. And it mainly serves up popcorn and those famous little Coke bottles. The story here is that Saka is a farmer on Batuu, and she has traveled the universe far and wide to bring back interesting spices that she has found throughout the galaxy, and the result is pretty darn great. This, my friends, is the Outpost popcorn mix, which, as Disney describes it, a colorful blend of sweet and spicy flavors. Now, upon some research and talking to some cast members, I've learned that the blue pieces of popcorn are seasoned with a blueberry and lemon pound cake flavoring. Honestly, I experienced none of those flavor notes. They were sweet, but everything is overpowered by the chili lime flavoring found in the red popcorn pieces. Now, I personally enjoyed it, and the spice level is extremely mild in my book. I guess even though you don't taste those blueberry flavors, the sweetness is there and it does balance out the spice. It's actually more refreshing than spicy thanks to the lime. I'm a big popcorn guy, and this was an interesting twist to standard popcorn at Disney World. And it instantly reminded me of the huge range of flavors found over at Tokyo Disney. I went a couple of years ago and had strawberry popcorn, curry flavor, honey, soy sauce, everything you can think of. This doesn't really quite match those interesting flavors, but it's a welcome addition to the parks in Florida. Now, the Outpost popcorn mix does suffer from the extra Star Wars price hike and will cost you $6.49, but it is a great use of a snack credit in terms of value. And I had to walk away from the temptation of purchasing this fantastic Repair Droid souvenir popcorn bucket. Remember this great scene in the original movie? This popcorn bucket is priced at $19.99 and will get you 1 serving of the popcorn mix. And sadly, you can't get refills with this guy. Now, while popcorn is great and all of that, it certainly won't fill you up for a full meal. And with the disappointments from Docking Bay 7, you're probably wondering, David, where can I get a decent bite to eat inside Galaxy's Edge? Well, guys, I can definitely tell you this. The only place worth stopping at for food is Ronto Roasters. Inside this big circular building, you'll find the engine of a pod racer being used as a fire source to cook up some delicious food. And I love that power droid turning the spit roast, very similar to the one we saw inside Jabba's palace. Even before I tried the main dish here, I just love the theming and the design of this place. Very clever. Now, I didn't try the turkey jerky, and I haven't really heard great things. But that's because you have to try the Ronto wrap. It is to die for. This begins with a grilled pork sausage wrapped in additional slices of roast pork and topped with a beautiful peppercorn sauce that is everything. The whole thing is then wrapped in a big slice of pita bread and topped with some tangy slaw. The richness of the pork is beautiful, and I love that kick from the peppercorns. And that tangy slaw on top just adds more dimension of flavor. Even before I finished my first bite, I fell in love with this thing. Seriously, if you only have time or the budget for one food item in Galaxy's Edge, there is no doubt that this is the one. Unless you don't eat meat, of course. The Ronto wrap may seem pricey at $12.99, but it's extremely filling. And it will count as an entree if you're using a quick service meal credit here. And Ronto Roasters offers mobile food order, so don't worry if you see a line because you can just order this straight on your phone. Thank God I found this guy, because if it wasn't for this, I would tell you that dining inside Galaxy's Edge is mostly a bust. Yes, the Felucian garden spread is very good, but that mainly caters to the vegetarians. And yes, the popcorn is interesting and fun, but it's just a snack. After trying all of the items today and the drinks in my last video, I can easily tell you that from a food and beverage perspective, Galaxy's Edge could definitely use some work. A land as big as this needs to offer way more food dishes. It's definitely all about the ambiance of Oga's Cantina and the main dish at Ronto Roasters. But sadly guys, this means we're at the end of today's Foodie Friday video. If there are other food and beverage items inside Galaxy's Edge that I haven't covered yet, and you're curious to learn more, just leave a comment down below. I'll make sure I try some more items on my next trip. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and remember, if you can dream it, you can do it.